Now, when you invite friends over for video games, there's kind of a few types of games you can count on coming up. There's your party music games, there's whatever first-person shooter is popular at the moment. If you're with the right group of people, you might even have a fighting game that you go to, but as a retro collector, I take pride in bringing out the good crap for my friends. And by the good crap, I mean weird. And one of my favorite games to forcibly expose friends to is this, Evil Zone. It's a two-player fighter. It came out in 1999, and it's actually got a fair bit of narrative to it as well. But is it worth the effort I put into pimping it out to literally every human being I meet? Let's find out. Evil Zone, released in Japan as Fujin no Ryoki Eretsuvayu, is best described as what I'd call a cinematic fighter. That is, it's a game that prizes style and presentation above all else. Similar to games like the Shin Budokai series, fights are less about counting frames and complicated specials, and more about fast, over-the-top action with easy-to-perform moves that play out like attacks in your typical shonen anime. And anime is really the best way to describe Evil Zone. That may sound like an awful generalization by an 80-year-old grandma at Blockbuster, but stay with me. From the moment the intro video plays, produced by AIC, the same studio behind anime like Bubblegum Crisis, Tenchi Universe, and Lodoss War, it becomes obvious this game's whole intent is to play off the tropes and style of shonen and seinen anime. And that is a distinction I really wish more people made. You see, a shonen anime is targeted at young boys, stuff like Naruto or Dragon Ball, that tends to be more on the action side, whereas a seinen anime tends to be focused more on adults, and you don't really need to know this, do you? See, each character is vaguely themed after a different style of anime. You've got a hot-blooded martial artist, a space bounty hunter, a schoolgirl with magic powers, a tokusatsu hero, and so on. And each fight in your character's respective story mode is presented as an episode of their show. It's a fun and clever way of setting each character apart in service of the game's central narrative of fighters coming from across the multiverse. And did I mention it's fully voiced?
You better stop chasing after Ihodoka. Are you stupid or something?
Maybe, but I am Midori. I don't want to become an idiot who isn't honest to myself.
I'm impressed with your words, but you're acting like an idiot.
Okay, so yeah, this game's translation borders on SNK levels of really bad English. But honestly, if you were a fan of the anime that this game represents at the time, that was fairly normal.
Hey, Chris!
Hi!
You sure look good for someone preparing for an exam.
You certainly got sexy.
You must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
But where is Dr. Wily?
That's a good question. We may be able to locate another energy emission from the radar room. When we find that meteor, we'll find Dr. Wily.
So, what do you want to eat? Yogurt. Top it with vanilla ice cream. Raisins. Okay. How about some peanut butter, too?
Sorry, what were we talking about again?
And immense cheesiness aside, they did get some decent voice actors for this game who did the best with what they had. People like Lonnie Manella, Paul Eiding,
Oh, and John friggin' St. John.
Do you dare to stop us? Then stop us! The power of a supreme ruler destroys evil! The ultimate hero, Danzaiba!
I mean, let's be real. If your friends aren't immediately sold on a Kamen Rider metal hero voiced by Duke Nukem, they are not the kind of people you need in your life. It's super fun playing through each story to see what kind of theme each character has. My favorites are Kea, who has a sort of radio advice column where he answers advice letters from each of his opponents before the match, and Danzavar, who gets those stereotypical overly long Showa Rider titles for every episode. Plus, the game has a surprisingly deep backstory, with unlockable encyclopedia entries covering the game's world, characters, and history in more detail than anyone could ever ask for. You get blood types, local politics, personal info on characters who aren't even technically in the game. It's just a shame it's about as well translated as the rest of the game is. And that all leaves us with one last thing to talk about, the gameplay. A fighter isn't worth beans if you can't have fun fighting your pals, right? And in my opinion, Evil Zone hits that easy to pick up, hard to master spot with ease. The game only makes use of the D-pad and 2 buttons, square to block, and triangle as a multifunctional attack button. A straight-up button press results in a combo of basic punches or projectiles, depending on how close you are to the opponent. Pressing or double-tapping directions on the D-pad whilst holding triangle results in several different attacks. It's actually surprisingly intuitive. And since every character has the same set of inputs, it's really easy for new players to jump in and challenge even seasoned veterans. You might be thinking that combat could get really samey with everyone having such similar movesets, and there are some similarities. Everyone has 2 projectiles, an overhead leap, and a grab, for example. But there are enough slight variances in size, speed, and power, as well as attack patterns, that things still vary between characters. In addition, everyone has 3 grab attacks. The first one is performed by pressing down and triangle at close range, working like you'd expect a grab to work. The other 2 are performed at mid-range and far away, respectively, with a red circle appearing beneath your enemy for a split second. As you move farther away, the grab gets more powerful, but it becomes harder and harder to hit them in that brief window of time. And of course, while you're doing that, your opponent is likely advancing or pulling up a grab of their own. Finally, each character can charge up a special meter by holding down triangle for a few seconds, which they can then use to launch a small projectile that catches your opponent in an epic cinematic move that can wreck their health and turn the tide of a fight. Altogether, this forces you to keep mobile, constantly parrying enemy projectiles, and adds a whole level of constant tension even when you're out of normal attack range. The game's developer, Yuke's, went on to develop pretty much every post-Aki WWE game, and you can kind of feel an early, more stylized version of the game's DNA here, with more universal inputs differentiated by context, and stronger focus on character personality versus on complicated movesets. Honestly, every game night I've brought this game to, people have had fun with it. Since the inputs are so simple to learn, anyone can pick it up and enjoy it within a couple of matches. And the game is maybe one of the most balanced fighters you'll ever play, so losses always feel earned, not cheap. Well, they feel a little cheap as you're watching Ikadulka toss you around like Slimer from Ghostbusters during a 20-second long attack animation, but then you'll just hit her with one of your own and it's all good. I played quite a bit of this game during the course of the review, and it never got stale for me. Even once I learned all the special attacks, I still had to strategize to keep on my toes and avoid getting trashed by a long-range grab or special. And the character dialogues were really fun, and motivated me to keep clearing story mode time and time again just to see what would happen next. Evil Zone isn't a super common game, but it's not highly sought after either. As of this video, you can find it floating around on the internet for 10 to 20 bucks, roughly. I think most people will have a lot of fun with this game, even if it's just for the cheesy voice acting. So at that price, I think I could totally recommend it. You know, I think this internet game reviewing thing will be easier than I thought. I do wonder, though, I'm not really sure what game to do next. I will talk to you guys later. Till next time.
Oh well, screw it.